Senator Schiff just exposed the most damaging cover-up in modern DOJ history when he pressed Attorney General Bondi about a top Trump official taking $50,000 in cash bribes. Caught on FBI tape, her refusal to answer revealed how far this Justice Department will go to protect corruption while weaponizing the law against political enemies. This isn't oversight, it's democracy under attack.
FBI Director Patel said there was no case. And Caroline Leavitt is one of the most trustworthy human beings I know.
So
and,
was she,
was she
if
right? You worked for me, you would have been fired because you were censured by Congress for lying with your
we can stipulate to, you can stipulate to all your personal attacks on the Democratic members of the committee.
Personal attacks? You've been attacking my FBI director. You've been attacking my office. You've been attacking.
But what we're interested in,
borders are.
What we're interested in is the answer to these oversight questions. You were asked by my colleague. You were asked by my colleague.
Attacking good people.
Regular order, Madam Chair, so I can ask a question. You were asked by my colleague from Vermont whether you will support providing a video or audio tape, if it exists, of Mr. Holman taking $50,000 in bribe money from the FBI. Will you support a request by this committee to provide that tape or tapes to the committee? Yes or no?
Senator Schiff, you can talk to Director Patel about that.
Well, I'm talking to you about it. You're the Attorney General. This will be your decision. Will you support?
You don't have to tell me what is my decision and what is not my decision. I said you can talk to Director Patel.
You don't have to try to.
You think you've got a gotcha with Tom Homan, our borders are, who's been out there fighting for our country since Donald Trump took office.
I'm trying to ask a question. Regular order, please. And you don't have to defer to the FBI director to pass the buck. So I'm asking you, will you support a request so that the committee, or indeed I believe the American people, should be able to see that video or audio tape? Will you support that request?
Will you apologize to Donald Trump
so
for trying to impeach him?
I guess the answer is you won't support that request.
After you now know that Joe Biden tried to cover up Hunter Biden's involvement with Ukraine.
Let me do this, because I think it's valuable that the American people get a sense of what you've refused to answer today. So these are just some of the questions you refused to answer, or have answered with personal attacks on members of this committee. You were asked whether you consulted with career ethics lawyers, as you promised you would do during your nomination hearing, when you approved the president receiving a $400 million gift from the Qataris. You refused to answer that question. You were asked who or what role you may have played, or who played the role in asking that Trump's name be flagged in any of the Epstein documents gathered by the FBI. You refused to answer that question. You were asked whether Holman kept the $50,000 bribe money. You refused to answer that question. You were asked whether Holman paid taxes on the $50,000 bribe money. You refused to answer that question. You were asked, did career prosecutors find insufficient evidence to charge James Comey? You refused to answer that question. You were asked, how are military strikes on these boats in the Caribbean legal? And you refused to even answer that question.
You were asked, a law degree,
excuse me. You were asked, did you discuss indicting James Comey with the president? You refused to answer that question. You were asked, did you approve the firing of antitrust lawyers who disagreed with the Hewlett-Packard merger? You refused to answer that question. You were asked whether you support a restoration fund for violent insurrections to attack the Capitol on January 6th. You refused to answer that question. You were asked whether you were firing career professionals, career prosecutors, just because they worked on January 6th investigations. You refused to answer that question. You were asked by my California colleague whether you believe government officials, like immigration officials, have to abide by court orders. You wouldn't even answer that question. This is supposed to be an oversight hearing.
Oversight?
Excuse me, you can attack me after my time is over.
You've attacked all of us, including President Trump, for your entire career.
You can attack me later, and I know you've got plenty of canned attacks. We've heard them all day to day.
Canned attacks on you?
This is supposed to be—
No one needs a canned attack on you.
Regular order, Madam Chair. I'm trying to speak. This is supposed to be an oversight hearing of the Justice Department. And it comes in the wake of an indictment called for by the president of one of his enemies. This is supposed to be an oversight hearing, and it comes in the wake of revelations that a top administration official took $50,000 in a bag, and this department made that investigation go away. This is supposed to be an oversight hearing when dozens of prosecutors have been fired simply because they worked on cases investigating the former president. This is, and now
What
the
about
current
the
president.
fires in California?
And
Do you
this
care
is
about that,
supposed to
Senator
be,
Schiff?
this is supposed to be an oversight hearing in which members of Congress can get serious answers to serious questions about the
Are the
cover-up,
riots in
about
LA
the cover-up,
serious?
about the cover-up of corruption, about the prosecution of the president's enemies. And
I think you owe the president an apology.
when will it be
Your entire career,
that the
frankly.
members of this committee on a bipartisan basis demand answers to those questions and refuse to accept
Clearly you're a
personal,
failed lawyer
refuse to
because you don't
accept,
understand when
excuse
someone
me,
can and cannot
refuse
answer
to
a
accept
question.
personal slander as an answer to those questions.
Personal slander.
With
Will
that,
you
Madam
apologize
Chair,
to Donald
I yield
Trump
back.
for slandering him? Personal slander.
Senator Burke.
May I ask unanimous consent, Madam Chair, to introduce into the record the statement of 1,000 former Justice Department officials who warned that the Comey indictment is a democracy-threatening abuse of power. May I also request unanimous consent for the introduction to the record of 282 former career officials at the Justice Department raising an alarm who were voluntarily or involuntarily forced to leave the department because of improper actions taken by the Department of Justice. May I introduce with unanimous consent the Justice Department manual that talks about when initiating and declining charges are subject to impermissible considerations. And finally, Madam Chair, may I introduce the letter for Michael Ben-Ari, a career counterterrorism prosecutor, DOJ, a letter he nailed to his door, which concludes by urging officials to do the right thing for the right reasons, to follow the facts and the law, and raises the alarm that the decision to remove experienced career officials from U.S. attorneys' offices, the FBI, and critical parts of DOJ undermines our country's abilities to counter terrorist organizations, malign nation-state actors, and countless others that seek to harm our nation and its citizens. And he believes that the priority is prosecuting the president's enemies
or are you admitting
rather than
Bondi,
protecting
Ms.
the
Bondi,
country.
one moment.
May I have unanimous
Are you,
consent
are
to
you
enter
entering
these
that
into the record?
Without objection.
Thank you.
What Senator Adam Schiff did in this hearing wasn't just oversight. It was a masterclass in exposing institutional corruption in real time. When he pressed Attorney General Pam Bondi about Tom Holman taking $50,000 in cash from undercover FBI agents, her evasions revealed something far more dangerous than one bribery case. They showed how the Department of Justice has been weaponized to shield political allies while targeting enemies. The core issue centers on predication, the legal requirement that investigations must be based on credible evidence of wrongdoing, not political convenience. When Schiff detailed how career prosecutors quit en masse rather than pursue unethical prosecutions, he was describing the collapse of this fundamental principle. These weren't partisan departures. They were professionals abandoning careers rather than compromise their integrity. The exodus speaks to something deeper than workplace status action. It reveals a system where legal standards have been subordinated to political objectives. Bondi's refusal to answer whether Holman kept bribe money, caught on FBI tape, exposes the selective enforcement problem. The same department that aggressively pursues Trump's political opponents suddenly loses interest when corruption involves administration officials. This creates two justice systems, one for allies, another for enemies. That's not law enforcement. It's political protection. The resignation letters Schiff entered into the record tell the real story. Career prosecutors and counterterrorism experts warning that remorning experienced officials weakens national security. When you fire people based on political reliability rather than competence, you hollow out institutional knowledge. Complex investigations into organized crime, foreign interference, and terrorism require years of expertise that can't be replaced overnight. The systematic nature becomes clear when you connect the dots. Investigations shut down, prosecutors fired, cases dropped, all following a pattern that benefits one side politically. This isn't bureaucratic inefficiency, it's deliberate institutional capture. When justice becomes partisan, public trust evaporates, cooperation disappears, and the country becomes less safe. Schiff's questions about ethics consultations, Epstein documents, and military strikes in the Caribbean weren't random. They mapped the scope of accountability gaps. Each non-answer revealed another area where normal oversight has been suspended. When Bondi refused to discuss Qatar's $400 million gift to Trump or whether career antitrust lawyers were fired for opposing mergers, she was demonstrating how thoroughly oversight mechanisms have been dismantled. Democracy depends on officials answering to Congress, not deflecting with personal attacks. The ultimate test isn't whether Bondi releases tapes or fires more prosecutors. It's whether Americans recognize that justice requires independence from political pressure. When law enforcement becomes an extension of political power, it stops serving the public and starts serving whoever controls it. That's the warning Schiff delivered through methodical questioning, and Bondi confirmed it through systematic evasion.